On this channel, I get a lot of watches that are a little unique, a little interesting. Some of them are to people's taste, some of them aren't. Of course, taste is subjective. Today I have something for you that is a little bit unique, but also I think still has a very broad appeal. It's unique but classy. It is beefy and yet refined. It is the 300-meter diver from MMI watches called the Turret. Back in January, I reviewed this watch, the MMI Turret Chronograph, and I was really impressed by it. Today I have this watch for you. This is the Turret 300-meter diver, and I'm really excited to show it. My name is Alton. I'm so glad you could join me. Please like and subscribe if that's something you'd like to do. Why don't we get into this watch? If the Turret version 2 looks familiar, that's because I just received its cousin in late December. I was really impressed by that yellow chronograph, and the three-hander is equally as impressive. Taking a look at the specifications, it is made of 360L stainless steel. It has a diameter of 40 millimeters, a lug to lug of 47 millimeters. The lug width is 22 millimeters, and it comes in at 13.6 millimeters with that sapphire crystal. It really doesn't feel that chunky. The bezel is 120 click, unidirectional. It's ion plated for the insert, and it has Swiss Super-LumiNova, either C3 grade X1 or old Radium grade X1, depending on the model that you get. The sapphire crystal is 3 millimeters thick with an anti-reflective coating. The dial contains a horizontal brushed feature to it, which is actually very dynamic and attractive. The hands and the indexes are coated with Swiss Super-LumiNova, either C3 grade X1 or old Radium, depending on the version that you get. Under the caseback is an NH35 beating away, and as advertised, this has 300 meters of water resistance, and the piece de resistance is the signed lumed screw-down crown, which helps with that 300 meters of water resistance. The cost on this baby is around $290 US. That's $362 for those of us in Canada, and the delivery date is May to June of this year. Taking a closer look at the case, it appears immediately broad-shouldered and mean-looking due to the 22 millimeter lugs on a 40 millimeter watch. The case has been working out hard. It's been drinking protein shakes. It's been doing a leg day, and it's ready for tank top season. Everywhere you look, there are curves and there are angles, from the details on the crown guards to the female end link of the bracelet. The brushing and polishing is well done, even though this is a prototype that's been passed around the world from reviewer to reviewer. It still looks pretty great, minus a few scuffs and minor scratches. The screw-down lumed crown is easy to grip, and it allows you to manipulate the Seiko NH35 movement with ease. The quick set date is kind of fun to play with, so if you want to watch that red date disc spin around and around and around, you can use that quick date adjustment to have a little bit of fun. The iron-plated bezel, which is partially shrouded by the lugs and inspired by a warship turret, is thin in comparison to the beefy case, and it lends an air of sophistication. The fact that the bezel is lumed means that this would actually be useful underwater, and unlike every single Seiko I own, the 12 o'clock marker lines up perfectly. The dial is simple, with double baton markers at 12 and 6, providing orientation, and single batons at every remaining hour. The same colored chapter ring ensures that checking the time at a glance will require no effort whatsoever. The dial printing is minimal and it's attractive. All three hands are precisely cut and are the appropriate length. The claim to fame here is that unique date disc displaying the day of the month by a red marker circumnavigating the inner dial. You might think that this would create a dial that is cluttered, but the designers obviously worked hard to keep the dial balanced, and the use of baton hour markers served to keep things simple. Finally, the bracelet, which I covered in more detail in December, is well made and it's comfortable, especially due to the many micro adjusts that the Turret offers. And the lume is decent and applied on both the dial and the rotating bezel. What are the pros of this watch? First of all, I love that it is a 40 millimeter watch that is rated for 300 meters diving. It's a great size. Maybe a little bit chunky with that Seiko NH35, but otherwise I think it's a great size. It has a retro style, a 70s, 80s kind of feel to it, but it also is its own thing. It's also got a modern touch to it. Definitely not a classic diver in this sense. It's beefy, broad-shouldered, and yet I think it's still classy, especially in this colorway. It just adds an air of sophistication to it. And I love the price. $290 US. That's a great price point for this watch. In fact, it looks to me like a watch that's worth quite a bit more than $290 US. Well, no watch is perfect. So what are the cons to this watch? Well, a lot of it has to do with the bracelet. The female end link transition is just not to my liking. The way that it drops down after the end link, it doesn't sit right with me. Perhaps on your wrist, it will actually flow more gently, more naturally. But on mine, there's quite a bit of a drop. And it's just not something to my taste. You know what? Sometimes I know people love these female end links, but sometimes a male end link really helps keep things where they need to be. It really depends on the bracelet. Definitely not a deal breaker for me. The second con is it's a little bit thick. I think a Miyota 9000 series movement might allow you to shave off a little bit from this 13.5 millimeters of thickness. So it's a little bit chunky, but honestly, I'm nitpicking because I really like this watch. This is a watch I could see myself owning, and I really don't have a lot bad to say about it. I know perhaps the lug width will bother some. I know it bothered some in the comments for the chronograph being 40 mils with a 22 millimeter shoulder is a little bit on the beefy side, but actually I like it. I dig it. It gives it a bit of a beefy sports watch vibe, and I don't know, it works for me. Well, in summary, the Turret version 2 300-meter diver is a unique and capable watch that will fit many wrist sizes. For under $300 US, you're getting a watch that can take some hard knocks and look classy doing so. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and a big thanks to MMI for passing this along. We always appreciate it when micro brands support the channel. It is so much fun to check out all of these original and new watches that are coming out. So thank you, MMI, and thank you everyone for watching. If you want to like and subscribe, go right ahead and do so, because it helps prop up my fragile ego.